Hi, folks. This is going to be a long segment, so bear with me. I started this night around 7. Uh, this full of Tim Black's coffee. I fill it up to the brim with here, so I think it's about like 6 cups. That's about how much I drink per night. Um, just so I could do a lot of research, watching a lot of videos, reading a lot of books, etc. This is going to be an exciting moment, um, and I'm going to get to it. So, I think I'm 38 years old, and I'm inspired a lot by a lot of other people because there's a revolution going on, whether you know it or not. Um, it's a revolution of small proportions, I would say, because I would keep, everyone on my friends and family list. They're not gonna do anything. I send emails out, silence, right? But there's other people out there, and I'm loving the community and the progressive movement, and even people who are part of the Democratic Republican establishment, who always vote for them. They're starting to see that there's something not quite right going on. I'm hoping that it's going to change, and I think it's going to. It's just a matter of time. So, uh, what I want to do is shout out to Tim Black as always. He's part of the reason why I'm here. He's actually probably mainly the reason I'm doing what I'm doing now. His interview yesterday with Kenneth Mejia, who's running for the Congressional District 34 in California. Um, Someone like him, Kenneth is probably 26 now. He quit his job at a hedge fund. I've been doing a little bit more research on him, and so he was making 6 figures a year, and he quit so he could run and represent actual people rather than private corporations. And what probably inspired him was Bernie Sanders, and Sanders inspired me as well. Um, Now, another person that's inspired me is Samuel Ronan. He's another young person. This younger generation is really showing up. Um, I talked with Tim Black tonight on his show, and I was saying, you know what, our generation failed, and the younger generation is actually stepping up. And what our generation has to do is just kind of pass the torch on to them, give them our expertise, but let them run the show. My expertise is strategy, and I'm finally stepping into the ring. And I'll explain how in a bit. So, Samuel Ronan, he's not sitting idly by. He's doing a lot of things. I was kind of in his movement, but I'm realizing people who are working with him, they have a different idea than I do. I have a different strategy. The reason why is, I don't want to, stymie his growth of his movement, but I have my own movement that I'm probably going to work with him, with his movement. Um, so once he reveals what he's doing, I think I'll explain more detail. But more people have eyes on him than they have eyes on me. I'm one of those people where, I'm in the background. I'm trying to, plan out everything. But people with muscle, people with popularity, they're going to be the ones moving it forward. Uh, Debbie Lusignan from Sane Progressive, she has shares the same strategy as I do, and she's kind of explain why. But I think you should just watch the whole thing. I just want to play a little snippet. Come on, I hate IE. Come on, Microsoft. Really? Yes, I'm experiencing interruptions. Here you go.
Hey everybody, this is Debbie. Welcome to The Sane Progressive, the YouTube video series that seeks to inject some sanity into modern American political dialogue. For many years, good people, well-intentioned people, have been trying to implement a strategy of taking back the Democratic Party from within to give the power structure of the party back to the people. Dating back to the Jesse Jackson campaign, many groups have tried it, including the Progressive Democrats of America. And I don't know, for almost 30 years now, every single time this strategy has been attempted, it has failed spectacularly. And why has it failed? It has failed because the Democratic establishment masterfully, always, at every single turn and every single effort, have either neutralized or co-opted these efforts.
Go ahead and watch the whole video, the rest of the video. Again, someone like Debbie has a lot more viewership than I do. But I think, people who provide these independent news media, they have their role and they've got their viewership. They got people who they can kind of connect and work with. When they actually have an influence of people of stepping up, I'm starting to step up. We have a different role. They're not going to take on the role of starting these nonprofit corporations or things like that. And they're not going to be the ones running for government positions. So it's up to the rest of us to keep the political movement going, revolutions going, make the country better, make the world better. Because what's going on right now is not good. Okay, and for example, you would think Democrats would be voting against people like Rick Perry, who's part of big oil, right? So you could watch Jordan Sheridan go off again and again, and there's a good reason why.
Hey folks, Jordan with TYT Politics, back with you to discuss spineless Democrats, what else is new, and the continued co-opting of America by big oil.
Oh, we hear that word again, co-opting, right? So Debbie said it, now Jordan said it, and co-opting is just taking on I don't know how to say it correctly. Okay, I won't say it incorrectly, so say it at all. Anyways, Jimmy Dore, he states it like, you get weak Democrats and strong Republicans. That's all they are. The corporate brand is what they sell, and they're in it together. But here's another one that I want you to kind of listen to, because it's going to all kind of boil down into what my strategic plan is going to be.
Of Kentucky, obviously Senator Rand Paul is a libertarian and is in favor of legalizing marijuana. I often say that libertarians and progressives often have more in common than sometimes corporatist Democrats, so good on Rand Paul.
Emily Vigeland saying there's more in common with progressives and libertarians. And if you don't know why, you need to do a little bit more research and reading in history. Okay. Another thing that I'm going to probably go into is how corporate media is kind of dictating coverage of very big of their candidates, of Democrats and Republicans. It's run by a nonprofit organization, a 501c3, and you can see that the reason why Gary Johnson and Jill Stein weren't in the presidential debates is because they needed to get an average of 15% support in the 5 national polls that the commission uses as a benchmark. So you're only going to really see Democrats and Republicans in these presidential debates, and that's all you're going to see. You know why? Because the corporate media control the polls as well, and they're never going to get a third party in their general election debates because they do not want votes going to them when those votes can go either to the Democrat or the Republican candidate. What you need to also know is the movement's going to start small, and it's going to start now. And what we need to start doing is supporting third-party candidates. You can see that there's special elections going on in 2017. And now, you can look at the partisan change from special elections. Democratic Party, as of special election, there's 6. After special election, there's 6. Republican Party 4, and Independents 0, because independents don't win these special elections, but they can, because we could put more efforts into these. Of course, most of it's going to be for naught because there's going to be, more elections in 2018 and more elections in 2020, but it's a good starting point. And what's good to see is what these special election dates are and where the districts are having these special elections. And when you actually look through them, and I'll actually go through with you right now. For example, Kansas 4th, Montana's at large, California's 34th, Georgia's 6th, South Carolina's 5th, U.S. Senator from Alabama. All right. You got a good mix. Oh, come on, IE, you son of a... Okay, finally. You see the Democrats and the Republicans running, and you don't see much of anything else. But Chris Rockhold is an independent, so keep that in mind. He's a libertarian, and you've got more Democrats and Republicans, but a few third-party others. Here in Congressional 34th, huge Democratic area, and you got other third-party members and one Republican. And here you've got more Democrats, but a lot more Republicans, and then third-party other. And here again, there's just no Democratic candidates have formally declared. A lot of Republicans, no third-party candidates. And here again, there's only one Republican, no Democrats, no third party. So a lot of those are going to be waiting until the end. So let's get to where I want to get to, and it is this. So I've started my own nonprofit organization, and I'm going to explain what it's going to do. The name for the organization is going to be called Candidates Third Party Organization, and for short, it's called C3PO. I think a lot of the nerds out there and geeks are going to like that. So it's easy to remember, C3PO. Now let's talk details. Why am I forming this? Because there's not a lot of support for third parties or independents. They have to start at grassroots communities, local level. They're not going to get funding from anywhere else. They're not going to get coverage in corporate media. The only way that they'll get coverage is through independent media. And independent media can't see everything at once. They're covering news from corporate media And then they also have to, have people give them news at local levels and hopefully get their attention. So what this company is going to do is provide attention for people who want to run as third-party candidates. First thing is it's a nonprofit corporation. It's going to be a 501c4, something similar to NRA and Sierra Club. I'm hoping that it can get that status, but we'll see. It might be a 501c3. It's to support and provide resources for third-party candidates running for office. Full transparency. So you're going to see how much we get in donations. You're going to see how much we make in revenue somehow with products. You can see where it's spent, who's making money, how much is it going towards salary, how much each individual is making, what the expenses are, what it's being spent on, which state, which district, etc., etc. Flights. It's all going to be broken down, trying to make it more efficient because every dollar counts. If we can do it and make it work, there's no reason the government can't do it either, because the government is not transparent at all. So we want to show the government how it's done. We want to provide venues and charities for public outreach. Now we're going to be doing things differently than how venues are currently made for candidates, right? There's not going to be like $1,500 luncheons or something for a Democratic member candidate. We're going to provide charity events and for, say, homeless or for kids or low-income families that are in poverty, for veterans who aren't getting the medical attention they need, things like that. We're going to actually make sure that they get the support that they need, and then candidates, especially third-party candidates, go out there and see what's going on, get questions from them, real questions. And this goes to the next one. We're going to have independent media have coverage where they cover the candidates, third-party candidates, where real people ask them real questions. So we're going to be providing charity. We're going to provide a venue for the candidates to go and see how things actually are, with with their own eyes. And most of them probably already work with certain events and charities. And then they get real people asking real questions. There's no questions where, what question are you going to ask? Okay, if we choose you, you ask that question. Or, they'll give someone else, some actor or actress, whatever, just someone saying, hey, you can ask this question if you want to ask a question. Nope. They're not going to know what the questions are, so the candidates are going to have to actually know what their platform is and state what they're going to do when they're in office. And the independent media is going to cover them. And if you're lying, if you don't know what you're saying, people are going to know. So, that's that. Now, there's a couple other strategies to keep in mind. Is we want to convert Democrats, incumbent Democrats and Republicans, when they go for re-election, to switch to a third party. There's a lot of co-opting of Democrats on the progressive platform and Republicans on the libertarian platform. But once they get in office, there's no accountability, so they don't do anything. But the real progressives, the real libertarian Republicans that actually support that type of platform, we want to get them to run as a third party, and we will support them. So we don't want Democrats and Republicans to hold their duopoly stronghold on our government in our electoral process. So, um, we want to also establish third-party primaries, and what that is like Democrats do this, Republicans do this. They, narrow it down to who is the top of the ticket. And so once a Democrat is chosen and a Republican is chosen, all the Democrats vote for the Democrat, all the Republicans vote for the Republican. Now, the problem is when, say, you have an independent and a third party, like a Green Partier or a Libertarian Partier candidate, they're going to split votes. So most likely they're not going to win. What we need to do is have the third party people stick together. So if there's an independent and a Green Party running and the Green Party wins, try to get all the independents, libertarians, Constitution Party, whatever, have them vote for the Green Party candidate. So that's how it's going to work. That's how we get this duopoly to end. That's going to also break the corporate media stronghold on public debates, because when we hold debates with every every third party and independent, so they have coverage in independent media, you're gonna actually see what people's thoughts are, their ideas, how they're gonna solve problems, what their proposals are, and you're gonna actually see real people working hard to figure out what they can do, and the independent media is gonna cover them. That's what I'm hoping, because corporate media is not gonna cover them. They haven't been. And then finally, we're gonna pay people the right amount, a livable wage, when they work for this corporation, and we're not gonna overpay certain individuals way more than they need. So at the most, we're gonna have directors make 150 grand a year salary, officers 100,000, and everyone else 50,000. That's the minimum. And that might change, but I want to keep it livable, and hopefully everyone can get to that point. And of course, when you're higher up in the position, you're going to be doing a lot more work. You're going to be working more flexible. You're going to be traveling. You're going to be doing a lot of things, making the right decisions. You have to be reliable. You have to be on the same page. And let's go into more details. So, how will this work? Well, the NRA in 2013, they had something like a 348 million in revenue, and you can actually see right here that they had almost 350 million. That's a lot of money for 1 year. You can make a big difference in 1 year with that type of money. And to show you what I mean is, here's a little spreadsheet. You've got 50 million or $50,000 for employee salaries. Say that's how much we're going to be paying every individual at the employee level. And say we make 200 million in revenue, and we're going to spend half that budget on employees, because we need people to do things. Not everyone can. Some people will donate. Some people that don't have time to contribute or volunteer are probably gonna get money. People who don't have a lot of money but they have time, they can volunteer. And some people, where they want a job, need a job, and we can rely on them, they'll get hired. So if we have a budget of 100 million, we can create around 2,000 jobs. That's with 50 states, that's about 40 jobs per state. And that's a lot of people that could be working to help third-party candidates and independents. So that's pretty good. That's a lot of jobs that we can create, and hopefully we can get more revenue than that. So let's go back. Another example, like our directors, whoever we get, they're not gonna make like $1 million a year in salary for doing their job. They're not gonna live like kings. I mean, they're gonna make a good amount of money, but $1 million a year is ridiculous for what they do. Sierra Club Foundation, that's kind of another nonprofit corporation that we're mimicking. In 2014, their revenue wasn't as great. I think it's like around 60. What was the total revenue? 62 million. So I mean, I'm expecting we're not gonna make that much. We may only get maybe half that, 30 million. So it's gonna be a slow year. But if I can get the outreach that we need, I'm hoping that we get basically what Bernie Sanders got in his 2016 primary. I mean, this was all just small individual donors, no super PACs. Bernie Sanders raised $227 million, a little bit over that. So if we can get that every year, that's perfect. Because guess what? In general election, third parties, independents, they didn't even raise that much money, as opposed to Bernie Sanders alone, right? Bernie Sanders movement was very, very huge, right? Look, you can add this up. Gary Johnson, 11 million. Fuerte, 7.3 million. Jill Stein, 3.5 million, right? Just those top three, third party, independent, whatever, that right there is just 21, 22 million money raised. And that's like a tenth, less than a tenth of what Bernie Sanders raised alone. So, the movement can be big if people can contribute. And that could be tough. Another thing, we're not going to be beholding anyone that we help. Most of it's going to be, providing those venues, providing debates, providing independent media coverage. We're going to give them what they need, as well as helping out communities with charities. So money's going to be used as efficiently as possible, and you're going to see that. I will try to make as much daily posts, daily videos, kind of like what I do. I have a website that updates everything. People can access it, and it's going to be pretty big. And that's what I'm hoping, because otherwise we're just going to keep having Democrats and Republicans in office, and it's going to be a seesaw battle of the same old corporate elitism. We don't want that. If you want that, that's fine. I'll close off my non-profit organization and give up, and then I'll probably start my own company, and it'll be a private one, and I'll become a millionaire. Maybe that's what I'll focus on. I don't want to do that. But when I feel like there's nobody out there that wants to change, then I'm not like most people. I have a lot of spite. If I feel like I'm, wasting my time on other people's behalf who take advantage, then I will have a lot of spite. Maybe I'll just drop out. I'll leave, and then someone else can pick it up. Maybe they'll do a better job than me. Who knows? So, cover that. This is just the average wage index of 2015, which I figured, people will make more than the average wage index for the company that I'm starting. So, that's kind of it. I think think I covered it. This is me stepping into the ring. This is you out there stepping into the ring. The strategy is no more Democrats, no more Republicans. Get third-party independents into our Congress, maybe even into the presidency one day. You know, we want the Democrats and Republicans to follow what we're going to do. That we're going to provide charity, we're going to provide venues, we're going to provide real people asking real questions. They see if they, if they're not doing what we can do in just a grassroots movement, they're going to look bad. Not only bad, but maybe they'll change actually, right? If we're providing charity venues, they're going to provide charity venues, so it's a win-win. The corporations are going to give them funding so they can run charity events to do the same thing that we're doing, but in the corporate media scale. And maybe people will still see through them and vote for the third-party candidates instead. But at least, you know what? We started it. We're making them change, and if it's not working for them, we'll see them change again and double down on something. So even if I don't keep up with it, I'm going to pass it along to a younger generation. That our generation older have ruined the potential of a great country. And we're now just an empire, just like all the other countries were before. Anyways, that's enough of that. This is a long segment. I just wanted to introduce kind of what I'm trying to do, and you're going to see a lot of movements like that, and hopefully I get your support. It's not me. You're not supporting me. I'm trying to get you and everyone else to support third-party candidates, to support independent media, and to help people who need help. Government is supposed to be about helping people who can't help themselves until they can help themselves and pay back into the system. To have, they don't have to pay people. We don't want really people to pay back what they get from someone, like loans, whatever. We want them to pay it forward to others. That's what I'm doing. I'm paying forward, and I don't expect anyone to pay me back. I want them to pay it back to other people. And I love that idea. So that's what I want to do. I hope you're with me.